Hello, everyone, and welcome. What if everything you know about automation is wrong? I'm here with Mohannad El-Barachi, the founder of Work, who says while everyone else is building tools, he is building something completely different. According to Mohannad, most automation companies are solving the wrong problem. And as you can feel it, the discussion I will have with Mohannad will surprise you. Mohannad, how are you?
Pascal, it's very nice to be here. Thank you for taking the time today with me.
Mohannad, so we're going to discuss and change the perception that everyone has about automation in the coming few minutes. Let me start with the first question. You've built and sold companies across automotive, telco, digital marketing. What drew you to the automation space with Work 6 years ago?
In building any business, there's always the same common challenge everywhere. There's always just mountains of work that need to be delivered in some department somewhere that is always being delivered by humans. And so you could be in the automotive industry, you could be in manufacturing, you can be in healthcare, you can be in ed tech, you can be in any kind of industry. There's somebody somewhere sitting in the back office managing invoices, managing reports for clients, managing inputting data into a system that is needed to run something in production, managing tax receipts for the government, whatever. And so across all of these different industries where I've operated, it's always something that I've always noticed that there's no matter how much software and technology they have in house, there's always someone somewhere proverbially pulling their hair because the mountain of work never stops. And so in my last business, Sweet IQ, which was in the digital marketing space, we were a software company that was growing and scaling very rapidly, but I had a linear correlation of adding people in my operations team every time we added new clients. And we couldn't sustain that. And so I wanted to try and figure out ways in which we could just optimize ourselves and be more efficient. And the answer was automation.
Okay,
And
scalability.
so,
So your point here is really scalability, the capacity to
yeah,
scale without, yeah, quickly.
scalability and efficiency in a way to do it in such a way where you're not just constantly shelling out dollars and cents every time you need to grow. How do you do it by maintaining your cost structure flat?
Like it. And so you made this issue in this digital marketing company, and
Yeah,
and you started to think about a solution to that.
correct. So the business we were in was very simple. So when you go to Google Maps, you know the little red pins that appear that say this location is here. The data
Yes.
that powered Google Maps in part came from my platform. And so
Okay.
if you are a store owner and you have one location, it's not a problem. You can log into Google Maps and put in your own data. But if you're McDonald's and you have 15,000 locations and you need to update that information once a week or once a month, it's not very manageable. So it was an
Yes.
enterprise grade software to enable major brands all over the world to help manage and syndicate their data across all the different mapping software. So not just Google, but also Yelp and Facebook and TripAdvisor and GPS and so forth. Now, as we were scaling, we found that not all platforms had what's called an API, so an easy way for our two systems to talk to each other via code, if you will, but that they needed to for us to prepare Excel files and go in and fill forms and so forth. And so it was just manual work. I literally had people that typing things on the keyboard all day. And so it became unmanageable to manage the scale without some form of automation. When we went to look at the solutions that existed in the market, we were just completely underwhelmed. Either they were too basic or way so overcomplicated and so expensive and taking months and months to deploy that they just didn't fit for us. And so what we really wanted was a solution built for what we call the mid-market. This is like 5 to 50 employees on the small size, 50 to 500 employees on the medium size that have still processes or problems that are medium complex, if you will, that are still mission critical, but that don't deserve a $250,000 to $1 million deployment budget for an AI or an automation solution. And that's what we conceptualized Work to be. It's a platform for small and medium-sized businesses, and frankly, even larger organizations that don't have these major pain points, that don't want to have to spend tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars building something custom in automation. And then automation kind of got this bad rep and this bad name and this bad word that it's this complicated thing and you have to automate your entire self. We just wanted to remove all the bullshit, to be honest with you, and just make it super simple, super convenient, super affordable for it to be deployed.
Excellent. So from this pain point, you've created something much broader than just in the marketing space
Yeah.
and pinpointing
Yeah.
on the map. But you've used this principle to apply to any business function, if I'm not wrong. And especially
Correct.
I understand when you're working for smaller companies, as you mentioned, those companies that don't have big IT or big teams of developers and don't have the technical capabilities to build from scratch or to hire big consultancy or spending months and millions of dollars on projects. Can you
Absolutely
tell
right.
us, can you tell me a bit more how you've tackled these issues?
Yeah, well, it's actually how you started this conversation, saying that, the way automation is being perceived and deployed is that we think about it wrong. And we think about it
Yes.
as this technology that's going to come in, it will completely replace everybody and it will automatically just, work, and it's expensive and long. That some of these things do exist, but that's what, some of the bigger tech companies want you to believe, because then they can charge you an arm and a leg for it.
Yes.
And so the problem set that we had in my last company, SweetIQ, was one use case, which was the digital marketing space in local marketing. And so the initial thesis was, all right, well, what is a process, right? Like if you think about in your world, maybe you're reaching out to people that you want to interview on your show, or, in some other people's world, it's dealing with invoices that are coming in or producing reports and so forth. A process is just a standard set of steps that get repeated or executed in a very standardized format. And then towards the production of an end outcome that is always the same, right? So if we take the example of, a report for a client, well, you're getting data from a system, you're analyzing it, you're creating charts, you're putting that into a Google sheet or a Google Slides, you're reformatting it, and then you're sending it to the client. It's probably 8 or 9 different steps. And so our thesis was, well, remember how your mom used to tell you you're very special, but really you're like kind of like every other kid?
Yes.
I think
She always say that.
well, everyone thinks that their process is very custom and very special, but the reality is all the processes are more or less the same. Yes, mind you, there's nuance and differences. And so our fundamental thesis was, instead of treating every process as custom, why don't we treat all processes as a different version of the same type of high-level process? And so we just built a very large library of pre-configured, pre-built micro software bots that we call work actions. So think of a work action as a step in a process that's automatically automated. And so step number 1 could be log into my LinkedIn and find everybody that contacted me. Step number 2 would be go and find all of their emails from ZoomInfo. Step number 3 could be log into my Gmail and send each one a customized email using OpenAI. Step number 4, if they reply this way, and so forth, right? And so you're describing a step by step. The only difference between us and everybody else is all of these steps that I've just described to you are already built. So when you come to me and you describe a process, I'm basically just configuring the software. And so fundamentally, our thesis was every process, yes, it's custom, but it's the building blocks are all more or less the same. And while everybody is trying to sell you technology that you need to customize with your IT and your consultants, we're like, no, hell no, this is dumb. Why don't we build a platform where all you need to do is just describe your process and it'll figure out how to do the automation? So what is Work.com? Work.com is an automation and AI deployment platform. You describe your process, you can take a video of yourself doing it or give us bullet points, and then the platform with the team will come together, build the automation for you. Because what's worse than having an automation tool that is very powerful is you having to configure it yourself. And so what we've come to learn is no one wants to do this, and so we do it for them. And that's really the big difference between us and everybody else in the space.
Excellent. Yeah. So just to recap what you just said, I'm a user. I'm doing invoices, for example, for the whole day, or very transactional activities. I just record on my screen what I'm doing. Okay, I'm clicking here, clicking there, doing this, doing that. I send this video to who?
To us, to Work.com. Yeah. To the
your
platform.
team?
Yeah.
Is it to your team?
To our team. To our
Okay.
So there's a platform, there's a section on the platform where you can upload it yourself or you send it directly to the team, correct?
Excellent. You send it, okay, and then what are the next steps?
So then the team is going to analyze the video. If they have any additional questions or anything like that, they will ask. But the next step is a fully built automation will be ready for you to review, usually within 48 hours, sometimes less.
Wow.
But if it's a complex process, it can take maybe up to a week. And then once it's ready, we let you know that it's ready. And then we hop on a call. We show you the automation fully functional. Sometimes you need to connect, your username and password, or maybe connect to a couple of platforms.
Yes.
and your process is automated.
I love it because it's in a way you always keep the human in the loop. Huh? It's not like you're trying to automate the building of those automations, but you're giving it to humans, to architects, to experts who I understand will go very fast because this is as you mentioned, the way those automations are built is by bringing together steps, modular, like Lego pieces basically, modular steps
Exactly.
together, and so it goes very quickly to build it. That's why you can do it in 48
Yeah,
hours,
that's exactly
if
right.
I understand well. And and
Mm.
um, and yeah, that's great to have someone to talk to someone
Yeah.
someone who understands. Because very often, if you just write a prompt to a system which will then build the automation for you, there is a lot of context. There is a lot of
Mhm.
unsaid things that we understand as humans, but that the machine yet can't understand. That yeah goes beyond
Yeah.
and creates the troubles after that.
Look, we're giving our clients the convenience and value that they would get from an almost fully self-serve product where they go in and describe the process, but with the added benefit of having a human component that helps shepherd and guide them and be their voice of reason and explain the bits that they don't get or whatnot. Remember, like in the old days, we used to have like kind of like your computer guy or your computer girl, the person that you would rely on. If you had a question,
Yes.
you would just go to them and they would just take care of it. We're back to this day and age now, right? I think that especially post AI, everyone is so excited about being to type something to a chatbot and then just see it get executed. To your
Mhm.
point, it's not quite there yet in terms of getting the end result that you want. Well, with us, it's the same thing. You're describing us your process, human, machine, AI, guinea pig, who cares? We figure out how to make it happen in the end. And we're getting back to where we are now entering the age where software plus incredible service that is powered in our case by AI. So my entire services team isn't just building this thing alone, right? We are AI powered in ourselves. That's why we can build these automations incredibly quickly using our own software. You get incredible speed, incredible power and performance out of the solution that you get for frankly what would be a tenth of the price that you would get with anywhere else. So in our case, we charge our clients up to $1,000, which is a one-time cost to build a workflow, and
Wow.
then a monthly consumption package of about $250 per month based on how much of their workflow they need to deliver, which means that your first workflow is going to cost you about $3,000 for the first year and will save you most likely the cost of a half of a full-time employee. So that's usually a
Wow.
10-to-1 ratio for your first workflow.
That's impressive. That's very cheap, by the way.
Yeah.
Uh, um, very cheap, especially I'm thinking about it. Usually in a large corporation, you would have a center of excellence, those
Mm-hmm.
experts and developers who will come to you in your office, understand how you do your process currently, write it down and document it, then design a
Mm-hmm.
system, an automation system, then build it, then ask you to test it. Then
Mm-hmm.
all this is months and
It's
months.
it's
It's
wasted resources.
millions. And
Mm,
so what you do is you share basically this service across many smaller companies, and allow them for a fraction of the cost of what it would be to have
yeah,
a, a part of a center of excellence for them, doing all
correct.
this work of design and implementation and maintenance, if I understand well.
Exactly right. And so, back to your earlier point about sort of disrupting the space, if you're a small, medium-sized business, you're not going to spend hundreds of thousands or in some cases even millions of dollars to bring in a couple of consultants who are going to analyze everything and build this for you. And I need this RPA vendor and that. It's too expensive. And so we've democratized access to this. The only market that we focus on almost exclusively is a small and medium-sized business because it is grossly underserved. They usually get taken for a ride by a lot of consultants and whatnot. And we just want to make it easy for them to get the same value that these very large enterprises are getting, but at a cost that they can find affordable to them because the impact to them is incredible. And what we're really seeing, which for me is very heartwarming, is that a lot of these small, medium-sized businesses are not deploying automation and AI to get rid of their employees. they're doing it so that they stop having them do the menial, boring, mundane jobs that are consuming so much of their time. And now instead they're thinking about how to grow and expand their businesses and open up new revenue streams. And so what my hope is with all of this, that these small, medium-sized businesses will use this automation and AI trend to become more medium and large businesses and take away more market share from these larger enterprises. And I think we can definitely help them, with this deployment and speed of deployment of these, AI agents and automation platforms or automated
I love it.
processes.
I love it. It's very clear. So what is the typical size of your clients in terms of number of employees, for example?
Yeah, so small clients are 5 to 50 employees. So you're talking home services companies like plumbers, electricians, lawn mowing operation companies. Property management is probably our fastest growing segment in terms of
Wow.
who's using a lot of us right now. And then small healthcare medical practices, a small medical practice with 4 or 5 doctors or something, and like 2 people in the back office, stuff like that. So that's on the small size. And then medium is 50 to 500 employees. And so those are the ones that could probably afford these large enterprise solutions. But they're looking at it and say, do I really want to spend 6 months and $250,000 minimum to maybe get something that may or may not work? And so what they're really looking for is an easy way to get started, to validate that their idea and logic makes sense. And then once they find the right vendor, then they just run with them. And so most of my medium clients, they go from one workflow to almost a dozen workflows in the first 3 months with us, right? Because then they see how quickly we can be up and running.
I love it. Yeah, that's disruptive, huh? Because the only issue I would say is, will you be able to scale? Because I mean, to scale fast, because you have the human in the loop,
Yeah.
in the sense of
Yeah.
the people who understand and build those workflows.
Yeah. So you want to know
But as
the
you
dirty
said,
little.
those people are augmented by AI, so they
Yeah. So
go
that's our dirty
faster.
little secret, right? So our dirty
Yeah.
little secret is we learned a lot of this in my last business. Like this was the problem we had, was to scale the delivery of listings for clients using automation
Yes.
and AI. And we've implemented that same process here. So I no longer have the same conundrum. Like we literally built this business for this. And yeah, like we have, it is actually public and you can play around with it. If you go to agent.work.com, WRK.com, it's an AI process mapper. So you can start engaging with this AI tool, describe the process, and you'll notice it's actually building the workflow that you have in mind for you, because it's almost guessing the steps that are so obvious to us, right? And it's building a requirements document and so forth. So today, the way that we build workflows and configure them is almost like 50% manual, 50% automated with our own AI agents and bots. And slowly over time, that's going to move towards 2080, but we never want to have it non-supervised. We want to make sure that the end outcome is absolutely accurate. In fact, we build often faster than the client is capable of giving us additional requirements or access to systems or looking at, the results that we produced. So I don't worry about scale on our end. It's just we just need this message out there more, right?
Yeah. And this is so thanks. That's very clear. And this is for me the definition of the premium services of the future. They will not be I mean, they will be the ones that involve the human touch at some specific points. And the example is getting a coach. If you want to get a coach to go to the gym and make sure so you can get a $20 app on your phone for that. Okay, $20 per month, but you can get also a 200 or 2,000 per month human coach. So usually, we all agree that what works will be the human one.
No doubt.
And so this is commodity, while having having the human is a premium, and obviously having something in between, a human that reviews what the app will find as data and analyze it for you and base its insight on this as well. An augmented human basically would be cheaper, and exactly in the same case as you. So higher value and lower costs. That's the hybrid team of the future.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think, another really important point to highlight is Technology can often be consumed in a very confusing manner, or people can look at it and feel overwhelmed in that, they think, oh, well, if I need to automate, then I need to automate my entire business. And it doesn't quite work this way. And so I think it's really important that you have someone that is almost like your guide along the journey to show you that this is going to be a step-by-step incremental process that helps you think about which processes have the most impact. You may be thinking, oh, I have like this thing that if I were to solve this, it would really be transformational to my business. But when we actually do the analysis with you and we tell you, by the way, this is like the incremental delta in automation here is going to give you an extra 5% productivity, whereas this one might be 80% productivity. And also, by the way, 20 others of your peers, because we have 20 other companies in property management or healthcare or whatever, like these are the problem sets they're solving. It helps you think about, really your business in a different manner. And that's I'm sorry to tell everyone this, but like, you're not so special. I mean, you are, yes, you are, like your mother said, but like you are, a slightly different derivative of, other businesses in that same industry. So if we start looking at the patterns and trends and what people are automating, it's going to make you so efficient and really, the bottom line impact of automation and AI is so significant for these businesses. They can no longer delay and they need someone to help them along the way.
And that's a good point. That makes me think about, we said about recording what I'm currently doing as a process and sending it to you so that you can automate it. But is it the right way to automate what is existing without changing it, without optimizing it? How do you deal with that? Because I mean, if you automate something that is broken, it's just a broken automation.
Yeah. Okay. So we have to be careful to make a distinction between process optimization and process automation, right? And so process optimization is what you're talking about, which is taking something that is being done in a certain way and making it more efficient. If we start that way, then we're really trying to learn too much about your business. And now we're weeks and months in and it takes too long. So our philosophy is let's start by automating the existing process. Even if it's broken, it's fine. What we get as a byproduct is when you have Mary in the back office or Frank in the back office doing things manually, you actually have no idea how long things take. All you know is Mary processes 1,000 invoices a month and Frank produces 1,000 reports a month. That's it, right? When we take the process they're building and then we convert it into a workflow, that workflow has steps, which means that I can tell you exactly how many minutes and seconds and milliseconds are being spent on every step. And so after running it for a few weeks, I'll tell you steps 3, 7, 9, 45. They take way too long. What are we doing here? Okay, let's optimize now. And because the way we charge is by consumption, so per result executed, so a report will cost you $1 per report, for example, I can come back and tell you post-optimization, now that same report is costing you 80 cents, 70 cents, 60 cents. So we're actually also reducing your cost of delivery over time. See? So it's a whole journey that we go on together. Start by automating the process as is, just so that we can be up and running quickly. Then we optimize over time.
Okay. So I like this outcome-based focus, which is what do you need at the end of this automated process? Okay, and this is what we should focus our effort on delivering. Whatever the steps we go through, and as you say, we can optimize those steps over time. But I'm a bit confused. You said before that to automate one of my process, I give you a video, I pay 1,000, I get in 48 hours an automated, and then 250 you said per month.
That's just a minimum that we have in terms of the consumption credits that you need to consume per month.
Okay.
But it is based on your consumption, right? And so when we deliver the workflow to you, we'll tell you this workflow, for instance, a lead generation workflow that will log into LinkedIn and whatever, that's usually going to cost between 25 cents and 50 cents per lead, right? So then you have to spend
this. Is it something you can
say?
So
in our platform, every single step has a price. And so when we add all the different steps, we have a simulator that will show us when we run this thing and we know this step is going to get executed 3 times, 10 times. If you've ever used the Amazon Web Services or any of the cloud computing platforms, they work in a similar fashion, right? When you get a virtual website or whatever, they charge you per minute, basically, or per hour of consumption. It's a similar model, but we just find it to be the most honest type of business, because if I don't deliver an outcome, you don't pay, but if I do, you pay, right?
I like it. So the difference is you've made it so AWS will definitely ask you to pay for the at the minute or the gigabit or whatever, and but but it's going to be for the system, for the whole system. You won't see the pieces inside, while you are doing it at the step level. Wow, and
Correct.
that's very smart, because you have the most transparent and the most fair
Completely.
and the fairest way of yeah of giving a fee. And yeah, wow.
And honestly, it aligns our interests, right? If I deliver an outcome that you're satisfied with, you will continue to pay and spend. If you don't, then why are you paying for something that you're not using, and you should cancel this service? And that's the challenge. And I speak about this very openly at all of the events that I go to. I think that this software as a service model is dying, and that we are moving more and more towards this outcome based pricing, and a more honest and transparent way for us to have our interests aligned. And we've been like this from the beginning, by the way. We were always a transactional consumption-based billing model. And the only reason that we have this $250 minimum, and that's, by the way, across all of your workflows, so you can have as many as you want, but it's just to align that the person coming in has a workflow that's worth doing, not just for us, but also for them. Like, if you're coming to me with a workflow that's going to cost $10 a month, that's probably not the right thing that's going to be so impactful for your business. So we want people to be thinking about the things that will have an impact for them, that will take away volume from their existing clients, and not kind of like get started with something that frankly is not going to set them up for success.
I love it. So we said it's specifically for small and medium companies, but I think big companies can use your services as well, no?
We have tons of them. And so what ends up happening in these large organizations, and you described it incredibly well before, is they have this thing called the center of excellence. And so the center of excellence usually sits with IT, and what ends up happening is someone in the department says, guys, like, we are dying here, we have all of this volume of work, we need to automate. This requirement goes to the COE, the center of excellence, and then they put it in a large queue, and then they do this cost benefit analysis and blah blah blah, and then they decide which ones have priority. So when you're a tiny department, and I won't name them, but we had a huge airline in South America come to us, and it was the cargo division. The cargo division had a process that literally required them to go over email, Zendesk, and SMS to get status updates of cargo shipments. And the process was so important to them because they used it hundreds of times every single day, but it was not important enough that the COE cared about. So they came and used us, right? And so, yes, you see large enterprise that have really important, medium complex, relatively mission critical processes that never make it to priority to the COE, that come to us because they're fed up of waiting, and they don't want to have to, spend 6 months trying to justify the cost of having this process automated.
Yes, that's lovely. I mean, that is the first time that I hear about that. I mean, I think the last time we heard about that was more BPO, business process outsourcers.
Sure.
Those ones usually in low-cost countries, who used to perform those support functions, finance, HR, and so on, remotely, those transactional activities, and they were asking for those big companies to pay for those services. But this was human based, and this was not customized. I mean, like, it was very difficult to set up and so on. It was huge projects, and I used to work on those, by the way.
Yeah. And you'll remember too that the quality there suffered dramatically. And also, you still have to supervise the output of every single one of those employees one by one. And so quality was always a really big challenge there.
Definitely. So it's the much more newer way of doing this, and combining this with the newest technology and newest platforms. I mean, there is you don't have any competitors on the market? Do you have? I mean,
So the challenge with a company like ours, and the challenge with our industry, is once you start using words like automation and AI, then basically everybody is your competitor. And so the way that we do it, it's really just consulting firms that use software that are really our competitors. No one in the market today from an SMB automation technology platform has a managed service with a software like ours that offers the end-to-end result at a price point and a speed of delivery and a level of complexity like we do. That just doesn't exist. And rightfully so. We've raised over $50 million in financing from some incredible VCs here in North America. This is my third tech company that I'm building. So I work with a lot of venture capital all over the world. And so we're very fortunate to have been able to invest very significant resources to be able to do this at scale, because really the reality of the, call it quote unquote, supply chain behind the scenes that you don't see that produces this outcome is very, very complex. That's why we can do it at scale at the price point that we can. But the challenge is when you go online and try and find a service provider, everything is AI and automation today. So it's cutting through the noise that's challenging. And I would just advise everybody who's listening to this video to really be diligent to create a distinction between what is software, what is service, what looks like a third party that's going to be using another tool to potentially deliver an outcome and stuff like that, right? Like really ask the hard questions. And higher price does not equal higher value or higher quality, right? Just be clear about what your outcome that you're trying to do, to produce, and be very, very prescriptive about what success means for you, right? So if you automate this process, what do you want to see as an outcome? Do you want to see your employees less stressed? Do you want to see, X amount of reports being produced or outcome-based items produced in a certain amount of hours? Do you want to see your revenues increase? Do you want to see the time to delivery of something decrease? The more you can provide a quantifiable metric, the more you're going to know whether that service provider knows what they're talking about or they're full of shit. Because if they cannot give you a clear path to getting that outcome for you, then they're not the right service provider for you.
That's very clear. Do you have, can you name a few of your clients or give just a short story before we end our discussion?
Of course. So we actually have a number of them. If you go to our website, wrk.com, under resources, we have a number of case studies and ebooks that have been published. I can point out to Easy Repair, which is a residential property management company. So they manage thousands and of doors, if you will, all over I think they're mostly in the United States. And their big issue was just maintenance requests. So imagine the manual task of managing, I need to repair this door, I need to repair this AC, I need to go paint this apartment and so forth. So a lot of manual back and forth across a number of different platforms and emails and whatever. So we've automated a ton of these processes for them. We work a lot also with charities, so non-for-profit organizations. So Penny Appeal and Human Appeal are two of our biggest ones in Canada and the US and in Europe now. So we have them in France and in the UK. And for them, it's predominantly the reconciliation of transactions across billing systems, and then the creation of tax receipts as well for the end of the year. So this financial manipulation of data that comes across multiple different platforms. Let me see what else we have on the invoice management side publicly as well. We've spoken about Main Micro, which is an IT solutions company that deals with a lot of vendor invoices that come in. We literally just live in their email inbox. Every single time a new invoice comes in, we automatically extract it. We go into their billing system. We identify if it needs to be paid out. We actually check. So we have a human in the loop component that checks with them whether this is ready for payment by integrating with their existing communication tools. So it lives in I forget if it was Slack or Microsoft Teams, literally sends a message. This invoice came in. We checked everything. It looks good. Is this okay? They say yes, and then we route it for payment right away. So these are some examples of use cases, but we really deployed across the spectrum. I would say today, home services, small healthcare, and then property management are three of our fastest growing ones. And we're really excited about the prospect of some of the stuff we're doing with voice AI agents as well to start replacing things like receptionists and booking phone calls and appointments and verifying information. There's a lot going on out there.
Congratulations. Wow. That's impressive. Mohannad, thank you very much for sharing all this. That was really, really interesting. And yeah, so I said that we would be impressed and that it would change the way we think about automation. I think we kept to the promise. Thank you, Mohannad. That was really, really a good discussion. And to all of you watching, see you next time.
Thank you, Pascal.
Thank you.